Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. This is Journal Breeze and I'm Kimberly. And today I am going to show you a creative planner that I started a few years ago and recently decided would be really cool to make it more my own. And so I thought, well, maybe you guys could get some ideas from this. I really just did 6 pages inside and the cover. And that's what I'm going to show you, and then I'll show you what the pages look like. This is a purchased journal. Actually, I got it at Target, and it was pink. It was sort of a peachy pink cover, which was not that difficult for me to look at. But the inside pages that I've now covered, the end pages and inside covers, were a very high gloss jewel tone bubblegum pink. Not my favorite color. And so it was sort of a weird feeling to have to go into something that I didn't like the look of to write down my creative ideas. I don't think it was consciously, it was more subconsciously. And so I found over the years that I stopped using this book and I wasn't really paying attention to it being gone. And then I came across it the other day and I thought, why don't I just recover it? And then the recovering led to really decorating it. And then I went for the inside pages that were that high gloss jewel tone bubblegum pink. It's not a color you see very often, actually. So this is it. This is the results. And I hope it maybe has you reassess some of your books. It doesn't have to be a creative planner that you're redoing, right? It could be anything. It could be any book that you need to use and decide to do something with. This is a reproduction, very early chintz fabric. This is block printing that would have been done in India in the 1600s and 1700s. Probably in the 1800s too. It's just that by that time it wasn't original, but originally it started that early. It was one of the earlier chintz patterns because the people in India were the ones that discovered how to keep color in cotton, and that's what made printed cotton more desirable and more expensive than silk and wool. And actually they had different countries, France, England, Holland, that made these early patterned they were chintz, but patterned. They were not chintz that was glazed. They were simply the floral multicolored designs. That's what was called chintz in the early days, and they were not glazed. The glazing came much later. So this sort of small overall pattern gave way to the larger beautiful motifs of roses and whatnot that we think about as chintz, and those were glazed. It was glazing machines that were developed and blah blah. Anyway, I love it all. I love it all. It's my favorite part of textile history. And so I've had this material for really quite a while, like I don't even know, maybe 15 years or something. And it just occurred to me, well, why not cover the whole book with something I love and just get rid of it entirely? And that's what led me to redoing the pink pages inside, because once I saw how much I liked this, I thought, well, just go for it. And I decided to keep it a grungy look. And when I came across this incredible picture of this woman, I realized, yeah, I'm going to make it grunge. So this button card, I sewed all different buttons on it. And just put some leftover threads from sewing and a little charm. And then this is an envelope that I can write in. I printed it out from another envelope I have that is the original, I think. I don't know, maybe this one was part of a digital kit, but I do tend to take my originals and make copies of them. And then this is I glued her onto a cabinet card and then backed it in cardboard so it would have that nice stiff feeling. And take note of this sewing machine in here, which in my opinion probably isn't a sewing machine. I think it's a ruffler, and she's got ruffles all over her. Her collar's a ruffle, her dress is a ruffle, she's got a ruffle at the bottoms. So I believe it's a ruffler. Singer made a ruffler. You could attach it to any machine, but they also had machines that made ruffling that were industrial. And I think that may be what she has. Or maybe she works out of her home. There's a lot of cones up here, and the thing that holds the sewing machine thread is very tall for a cone. So I think she was more of a industrial kind of a sewer. Did it for a living, maybe didn't work for somebody, or worked out of her home. I don't know, but I loved it, and you'll see why I'm telling you so much about it when we get inside. And then I took some of that lace that I recently aged myself. Now, it is a really old lace, but I browned it up and changed the color, a lot of dipping, and then I glued and sewed it onto a piece of muslin that I aged in coffee and different things. And this is one of the buttons that I glued onto a paperclip that I showed on Instagram a couple of posts ago. And this is a button that many, many years ago, when I first started this, like 7 years ago, I dyed plain white buttons in, believe it or not, coffee. I left them in there in a jar for I don't even know, it was so long ago. And a few days, I would guess. And then I took it out and I let them dry, and I never washed them off. So that's dyed coffee. And this was a paper thread. Paper, not a thread, but it's paper thread. What can I say? And I used it to bind a book, which it was the, it was the Italian travel journal that I'm going to be showing you in an upcoming video, but it actually was twisted and turned, and I showed it on my Instagram channel recently, like very, very recently, and I told you all about it. So what I did was I unraveled it, and then I put it into coffee dye, and so now it looks like I used a lot of threads through that button, but in reality I just put it in a cross, and it was just a oneer. So I'm excited to use it in different ways. Yeah, I'm having so much fun experimenting with different things lately. And I used a sprayed adhesive and laid my book on it, and then just cut around the edges and turn them on the inside. So now we have the inside, and this was something that ever since I saw the kit, this is paper cameo, this is also paper cameo. These I made from I do collect old sewing machines, and the Wilcox and Gibbs is one that I have, although I don't have the ruffler, but it might have the ruffler attachment. It's on display in my home, but they made the first soundless sewing machine, or low sound, and it's marked by having a curved top on it. And so I found I don't know where it came from exactly. I don't know if I had it in my drawers and came across it, but it was a white envelope, and written on it was a I forgot to set my alarm. Hold on. It had in handwriting singer attachment, or I don't know, something like that. And so it was all in bits. It was the cover picture in glossy paper of a sewing machine manual that would come with a small machine. The machines then were small, like later 1800s. And so what I did is I copied the bits of paper, and then I had this paper cameo pattern this was the other side, and it was larger, it was wider like this, and there were triangles left on each side. And originally I thought maybe I'd use them to decorate this page. But then when I found the bits and pieces of this Wilcox Gibbs manual, and I literally just found the front cover, that's it. So I made the cover, and then I took the pieces that I cut off of here, and I laid them on here, and I did a whole bunch of different ones, and then I ended up laying them in this design, and these are actually all pockets. And you might notice this is the same lady, and there's her ruffler, which doesn't show on the cover, but it definitely shows here. So that's the ruffler machine. And then I got the idea to stick a ruffle in here. It's a vintage lace that I coffee dyed, and I got it recently at the swap meet. And so I thought, well, why not lay it down there? And then I'm putting this in here and this in here. Whoops. And yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. This is from one of the natural kits that Nicola made early on in her career when she and I first got together. So like really an early kit, like 2018, maybe 2017, 2019, something like that. And I purposely brought the fabric over here because I love it. And I think it adds to the overall old and grungy look. And she kind of set, I can show you a bigger picture of that ruffler machine. She sets the tone for this. I didn't really expect to go this way, but her kind of, living in the country look made me just decide to go really grunge. So I had fun using this paper from one of her recent needlework kits. I think they're called 3 and 4. And I put a brad through the end of the ruler, and then I cut out a piece of lace, and lo and behold, it fit perfectly. It had been longer, up to 6, but then I cut that off because I thought, well, that's just enough to hold it. And then because I put the brad in, this actually moves in both directions. So that was kind of fun. Just fun to figure out. And then when I cut off some of this lace to make it fit off this side, I ended up gluing it onto here. But I had glued the ruffle that comes in the kit first, and then I just put this lace pieces on top because I thought it actually went a little better. And then this opens up like this, and so these are where I cut the triangles because this came out to about here. And then it's these triangles that I cut out and used as templates to make these out of the real covers copy. Okay, hope that's clear. And then this I cut off of here, so I thought that made a great binding thing. And then she's got this label in the kit, and this of course is the other page. So I loved it and I didn't want to cover it, and so I left this loose so that I could see that. So this is from the same Needleworks kits. I don't know if it's from the same number as this one, 3 or 4, but and I love the back. So I didn't want to glue it down because it's so beautiful. I wanted to be able to look at it. I put a little stamping on it here, and I put a little stamping on it here. And actually I wanted to age this, but I don't have any of my stuff handy. But this needs to be browned up. It's too white. And then this is the inside, and these are the ruffles, and then I put tags on the inside. Made them smaller, of course, printed them smaller, but I did print this full size. So I thought that turned out really well. I was very happy with that. And this is a wonderful page to use as is. And then I just tuck it in here. I glued it down so that it would be really, really tight because I didn't want it to fall out. I hadn't figured on a closure at that point, and so I didn't know exactly what was going to hold it. These things take me several days to actually figure out. I try a lot of things. I sit with them. I don't glue anything down. I don't make any decisions. I try, I look at it, I continue to look at the kit, I look at other things in my stash, and then suddenly I'll get an idea. Like I had this piece of lace sitting around, it actually had a whole base on it, and I was thinking about where I might use it, and it was when I realized, hey, I could cut it apart and stick this through, that it all kind of, gelled. They don't come to me right away because I don't normally make closures like that. Hopefully down the road I'll think of it quicker. And then this is a separate piece of tatting with a button that I put in there, and I think that's just beautiful. I did dip it so it'd be a little lighter. I wanted it to blend but also show up. And this is a really old lace that I did dipping and different types of aging on. And then I've already explained this. And then there's this page. And this is also from the kit. This is a pocket. I found this fabric in my stash. I'd already aged it. It's like a men's shirting material that would have been made in the late 1800s it could have been made through the Depression, even into the 30s. Stripes and 2 shades of indigo were very popular for all kinds of things. And this is a paper that I cut, a button that I cut out of the kit. This is the end of the ruler that I cut off this closure. And this is one of the digitals in the kit. And then this is from her Sabori kit. I wanted to show a little handwork up there. I loved the color. Actually, this was tall enough to fill the page, but I wanted to do a little collaging, a little interest. And I'm always cognizant as I'm making this book that I want to make sure that I keep it really flat. To do anything that isn't flat would be, so it gets covered, this part. So I want to make sure that whatever I put in here is worth covering up that beautiful toile, and that would also be something I'd be happy to look at. And then this again is more threads that I just took out of my machine, or took off of, I think it actually came off of tearing apart an old denim shirt that I love, and these threads came off of that denim. Yeah, and so these, I wanted to show you, this is such a cool planner. These are the kinds of project goals. So it sort of works like a mind map. And then you can write notes on it as well. And then it goes on for a couple more pages. Project plans, when you're going to complete it, what your deadline is, the title that you gave it on this page. And then more that you can write here, and then notes, which I think is great for, following up. Quotes that I wanted to use to spur writing and journaling. And then it has pages and pages. As you can see, you can date these pages. So it gives you lots and lots of that. And then it puts a really fun, great quote. Tidy desk, tidy mind. Now, you may or may not agree with this, of course. But then it brings you into a new project goal. And it goes that way throughout the entire thing. So if you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit. Love that. So really, every section has got a great quote. Remember why you started. This is kind of what it was, but it wasn't this purple. It wasn't this blue. It was more of a bubblegum pink. And so this was fun. I actually did quite a bit in it. And now I've got plenty of pages I can add to that I look forward to. So now here's on the back. This is again more of that wonderful shirting material. This was from one of the needlework kits in general. I don't think it was 3 or 4. I think it might have been one of the others. But if you go into her needleworks, you'll come across it. And I cut it so I could get the parts I liked best in view. I could add a pocket or something, but I actually am going to be writing a lot on these, so I don't want to add anything. It serves as a book board right now. Maybe when I'm all done, I'll add something. And then these are the other 2 pages I did recently. This is the back I did, and then this is the inner page. So I really did this flower first, and I completed it yesterday. I've had it for a long time. It sticks out, And I wanted to preserve it, but I didn't want to put any medium or anything on top of it because the colors, hope you can see it and the shine's not in the way, but the colors are exquisite. It dried beautifully. Came out of my own garden, actually. And it's very 3D. These are actually buds and leaves that are sticking out that made it in the drying process. And so I simply took one of the bags that something I bought came in, and I just added this so it would be easy to get it out. And it is raw. So I backed it with a fun digital. Forget what it was, but I love it. And then every time I put it in, I press against where that ribbon is that I actually glued in between the back and the front. So it's held on there really well. And it doesn't cause any friction when I pull it up and down because of the fact that it's glued on there between the back cardboard and this front piece, which is also on cardstock. So, and I think, is that on there or did I glue it? Might have been all one. And I might have gotten this on Graphics Fairy. I don't remember. I made it a long time ago. But when I laid it on there, I just thought that's the perfect match. And then I added a very old piece of eyelet and then a piece of lace that I aged. And this was paper that I had in my stash, purchased in a pad a long time ago. So I did a little more aging on it and ripped it up, and that's the page. And I felt like the nature theme was secondary to the sewing theme because of this. And I thought this coloring was great with this. So then I pulled out a digital that I had bought. That I got this from Sarah Lee Armstrong. And she actually made digitals from her gel prints. And I just loved it. And then I had made this a very long time ago on an index paper, and I grunged index card, and I grunged it up really well, and I put this gold leaf paper on it, and this dragonfly moth, not really sure what that is. I think it's a dragonfly of some sort. A long, 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 long time ago, and I never used it, so I thought, perfect. And I added this little decoration I had left over from something recently, and I used pencil to outline it better and make it a little darker. And then this I got recently from a digital from Vibe and Vintage. Find beauty in the small and ordinary. That's my motto. Find beauty in the small and ordinary. And so I was thrilled to find this in it. I just purchased it the other day and hadn't really read it much, but she's got a good sale going on right now. And you might want to get it for yourself. It comes in black and three different fonts. And then I made this a very long time ago. I used stamps. I added some tape that I had and did it on the back. Actually, and here's an old business card of mine. And I just love this paper, and I just felt it kind of brought it all together, gave me a chance to use this. I recently have separated a lot of old digitals that I made and put them into, the box that Instant Ink comes in. I've actually got several of them open, so there's a back there that things can lean against. I think I have six right now that are opened and sitting on a shelf and in a closet that I turned into a place I could put these kinds of things. And now that now that these are out and away from the sun, I find I use old things a lot more. I've been thinking maybe of doing a video to kind of show you what kind of storage things are really working for me these days. If you'd like something like that, let me know. I've done it with my lace. I'm doing it with my paper. Not that, but another way of storing it. And now that I've set these things up where I see them and where I can really easily get to them, where they're separated out really well and I can see them, I think I'm using them way more often, and I love what I'm making. So that's it, you guys. I've left the back blank on purpose again so that I wouldn't have anything that was going to get in my way. I did find that this could easily shift what is going on? There we go. Easily shift when I opened it, and that's why I added this actually through everything. But that's it. So if you have any questions, ask me in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.